like we were just here about 2 weeks ago with Chief Chrisman. So we've all been in the Rotunda here too often over the last several years, but don't see it as a time for, I know we're all sad, but also for Dana and his family, it's a time that Dana gets to move on to the next chapter. So Dana's 31 years, is that right, Dana? So did you start working here when you were 15?
Not quite.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to make a few recognitions. Dana, I want to turn the microphone over to you to introduce your family.
Appreciate the opportunity to make that introduction. On the left, my left is my wife, Melanie, and in the middle is my oldest daughter, Amber, and that little thing she's carrying around, that would be Lily Grace, my first grandchild, and on my right would be Laura Lee, my youngest daughter, and glad to have them here, and thanks for everything.
You know, we've been here many times over the last two or three years, and I look and I see several people who, you know, we've are hitting that timeline where they're making decisions on what their next phase is. And I was telling Mr. Penner when we were riding in the elevator that, you know, you put 30 years into the city, and I think it's great for people to be able to retire and that they have their health that they can retire and with their families. You look at Dana, you look at Chief Chrisman, and both of those guys, I would never have guessed that would have been here 30 years. And I know you guys are glad to have Dana. I ride by Dana's yard all the time, so I know you're going to be glad for Dana to be able to get back to some yard work and making sure all that's maintained. Yeah, so we'll all be. You can follow my blog, and I'll be putting the pictures of Dana's yard on here every week. But out of all the department heads that we've had, I don't think that there's anyone that you can go through and see their fingerprints on Murfreesboro as much as Dana. And when we talk about team and we talk about collaboration, Dana has had to work through different administrations within the state government, within the federal government. And when all of the change has been going on, there's one thing that has been moving through on Murfreesboro, and that's continued improvement on road projects, continued improvement on traffic and different things that are happening in this community. And it doesn't take long for you to sit down in Dana's office and him to be able to just go piecemeal to each individual project, and he can tell you where every single project is. Not only could he tell you where every project is, he can tell you how much it's costing, he can tell you how much the city has in, how much the federal government has in, how much the state has in. So you look at what he's done with taking over and pushing through the Rover project, Lytle Street that's coming on board, the bridge over Broad, Medical Center Parkway, Highway 99, Old Fort Parkway, all of these projects Dana has been involved in over these last 30 years. And I think that I speak on behalf of the council and the residents. Many residents, we've used you as a punching bag that we can say, if you don't like all the roads under construction, you need to thank Mr. Richardson. So that we thank you for all these years of being able to throw it. But we could not have had the economic development, the years without tax increases, the years of job creation, the years of improvement in this community could not have happened without Dana Richardson in his vision on getting things done. And, you know, we just built the longest bridge in the history of Murfreesboro, and you look at how many jobs that creates out on Joe B. Jackson Parkway, and you are a huge part in that. So I would like to ask all of the people who are here to give Dana a round of applause. So Dana, we've got a proclamation prepared for you. Actually, it's an ordinance that we had prepared where Craig is now decreeing that you cannot retire. But when I read through this, just listen to these numbers and listen to what he has. Come on up, Dana. I want you to listen to the numbers that Dana has oversaw. Whereas Dana Richardson joined the city in February of 1985 and served faithfully for 31 years, beginning as the city's traffic coordinator, later promoted to traffic director and then Transportation Director, where he has overseen all transportation planning, public projects, and traffic operations in the city since July 1st, 2002. And whereas during his tenure, population grew from approximately 37,000 residents in 1985 to approximately 123,000 in 2015. That's 6 times growth in population. The unprecedented city growth required substantial resources by directed the transportation planning and constructed traditional roadway projects, including but not limited to new roads, roadway widenings, intersection improvements, and construction of new interchanges that exceed $750 million. And whereas, in addition to new infrastructure, he developed the city's first CCTV system dedicated to traffic operations and provided other technical innovations such as centralized traffic operations center and interconnected traffic signal systems. And whereas he was also instrumental in the planning, development, construction, and operations of intermodal transportation programs, including the city's greenway system, roadway bike system, and public transportation system. And whereas one of his primary functions as Transportation Director for the City of Murfreesboro was to provide coordination between the city and the Tennessee Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, and various regional planning agencies, ensuring coordinated planning and compliancy with financial and regulatory requirements. Whereas his professional experience has included representing the city on the Metropolitan Planning Organization, the MPO's Technical Coordinating Committee, where he has served as chairman, the Federal Highway Administration State Transportation Innovation Council, where he has served as the state's local government representative, the Tennessee chapter of ITS, where he was a board member, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, where he served on the technical committee, the Tennessee Public Transportation Association, the Rutherford County Wayfinding Program Board, where he served as chairman, and additionally as a member of the American Public Works Association and International Municipal Signal Association. And now, therefore, I, Shane McFarland, along with the City Council of the City of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, on behalf of the entire City Council in recognition of his distinguished service to the community and City of Murfreesboro, do hereby declare January 14th, 2016 as a day to honor Dana Richardson, and urge all the community to join as we extend our congratulations and wish him well in his future endeavors.
We want to, thank Dana for his service, and I know the mayor pointed out his family and Melanie and Amber and Laura Lee. We want to thank you for all those nights Dana had to be down here at City Council. All those nights where he was gone, we wanted to thank him. Dana began his career in 1985 as a public works inspector. Your salary at that point was $15,000 a year. Wow! You're making $300 a week. Good job. And we had an opportunity a number of years ago where we had a traffic section, and then we had started our rover system or transit section, and we saw an opportunity really to elevate Dana in the organization, to thank him for his hard work and his dedication. And so Dana became the city's first transportation director. Now I started asking around the building, some stories about Dana. Tell me about Dana back in the day. Tell me a story if you've got on Dana. And one of the stories I heard that you were kind of brash when you got here. You had a convertible T-top. And you might have been a little cocky. That's what we heard. Confident is maybe another way of saying that, correct? But there's a few things you might also not know about Dana. Dana is the biggest meat eater I have ever met. You see a lot of heads nodding, not red meat. What'd you have for breakfast, Dana? Well, I had some steak. What are you gonna have for lunch? Cheese steak. What do you have for dinner tonight? Ribeye. He liked his red meat. If you got to Dana's office, you saw he had his John Wayne picture in his office. That was something that you always knew where you were when you saw the John Wayne poster. He's also one of the most organized people I've ever met. I know Aaron Tucker from Finance is going to miss him. The mayor had alluded to $750 million worth of road projects, and it was alphabet soup. We had federal money, we had state money, the county would be a participant. And Dana's way to organize all that was tremendous. If it tells you anything, I was in Nashville one time on a road project, and the TDOT staff were talking about what the rules said and how it was to be handled. And the two TDOT people looked at Dana and say, "Dana, what do we need to do?" He had that level of command of the funding and the rules and the regulations. And so when we talk about that $750 million, Dana was a magician at leveraging properly the different funding partners to get us where we needed to be and to most benefit the city. I'd often ask Dana, what are you going to do this weekend? Are you going to Nashville? He hated to go to Nashville on the weekends since he spent so much time there. And when this situation occurred, you know what I'm going to talk about. You knew this was going to make it. You were going to make your retirement speech. Dana wore out I-24 between here and Nashville, so we had a meeting at the new Music City Center probably 2 years ago or so, and so I said, Dana, we won't eat red meat, but maybe let's take a little variation. We'll go to an all-you-can-eat sushi place in the Gulch. So we go to the all-you-can-eat sushi place, and I figured, well, Dana knows Nashville better than most anybody else. Well, he starts getting ready to take off, and I said, Dana, I think you can just turn right over here, and we'll get there, and it'll be a straight shot. Well, Dana had put his car in reverse, and I said, well, we need to go that way. And Dana said, yes, sir, and he hit the gas, and we went flying backwards. It was kind of that unexpected thing. You expect your body to go forward, but we went that way. Fortunately, there was nobody parked behind Dana. And we are going to miss you. You did a phenomenal job for our residents, for our city. You were a blast to have in the building, and thank you for your professionalism and your hard work, and wish you many cigars and time on the golf course.
I talked to Chief Chrisman this morning, and he'd like to be here, and of course we just saw him a couple of weeks ago, and Gary Whitaker was asking me, he said, hey, is the FBI and TBI going to come see you? And I said, I've spent my entire career making sure that they did not come visit me. So I don't believe that they're in the audience today. Well, 31 years, it's been a long time, and I reflect back on some of that. 31 years ago, I was actually in college, living in a KA house. Good place to live, and some of my KA friends are here today. And was driving a nice 73 white Corvette with T-tops. Life was good. And I'll talk about that one some more. But I will say this, I thank my family for being here, and if there's anything that I've accomplished here, it pales in comparison to the accomplishments that I feel from my family. Great girls, love y'all. You see, I got a house full of girls. One of these days, somebody needs to give me a grandson. So I hope that the closest thing I have is Laura Lee's dog. And he's only half male, if you know what I mean. But I have made a lot of friendships over the years inside City Hall, and many of those have extended well outside the City Hall. I've had the honor of working with many, many councilmen, and I've also had the honor of working with 4 mayors and 3 city managers. And kind of reflecting back on that a little bit, the first mayor that we had here was Joe B. Jackson. And he and I were a lot alike. We like cigars and we like to play golf. And I recall back in a tournament that we were playing in together, and Mayor was out in the fairway hitting the ball, and I was in the cart with Joel Beckham. And I was pontificating a little bit and saying, wow, I wish I could hit a ball like that when I'm his age. Well, Joe bust me out immediately and said, hey, Mayor, did you hear what he said? He wanted to be able to hit a ball like that when he's your age. Well, Joe said, he ought to wish he could hit a ball like that now. He was, and Mayor Jackson thought that was hilarious. Mayor Jackson was a great mentor and a friend, and he's very much missed. Then comes along Mayor Reeves. Well, Mayor Reeves and I have quite some common friends, and you can use that in several different ways. But part of the friends that I play golf with on the weekend, and Mayor Reeves plays cards with during the week. Well, on one occasion, our worlds kind of collided there, so they invited me to come play cards with them. Well, I love to play poker, a little 5-card, a little 7-card. Well, first dealer up said, okay, 2, if you get a 4, it cancels the queen, if you get a jack, and I knew I was in trouble. So Mayor Reeves and my friends clipped me for $150 inside an hour. That's the last time we played cards. And then comes along Mayor Bragg. Mayor Bragg and I also play golf and smoke cigars. And he is a lot of fun. I've spent all my career with him when he was here trying to convince him of 2 things. One was that the Broad Memorial project was needed and it was a good project. I'm not sure I ever convinced him, but at least he acquiesced, so I stuck it in the win column. The other thing that I've spent the last 8 years trying to convince him of is that a 6-foot putt is not a gimme. Darren Gore's laughing, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So he's a lot of fun. Look forward to continuing to play golf with him. And then comes along Mayor McFarland. Where is Mayor McFarland? We've had several incidences and stuff, and he has a great sense of humor. And some of y'all were at our managers meeting where Mr. Lyons likes to make us perform like trained seals and put on skits and so forth. So Tracy Wilkins decided to put on a skit as a stand-up comedian. Well, his joke was, what do you get when you cross Bob the Builder with Doogie Howser? And the answer is the mayor of the 5th largest city in the state of Tennessee. And speaking of Mayor Bragg, he just missed it. And so that was great. As Larry the Cable Guy would say, that's funny, I don't care who you are. Well, I had a recent occasion to say some things that I probably shouldn't have said. And at a recent council meeting, I was explaining to the council, on live TV, of course, the significance of transportation planning and what planning ahead in 25 years means. And I was looking out at 2040. Well, I was lamenting back that 25 years ahead is no different than 25 years behind in time, which is 1990. And I was talking about in 1985 or 1990, I had already been here 5 years, already had my first child. And then, as we all do sometime, we say stuff that we probably ought not to say. And then I said, and Mayor McFarland was looking for a date to the prom. It's true. It was very true. And it's one of those moments when you think to yourself, did I say that out loud? And I did. So I came up to him after the council meeting and apologized and said, I hope I didn't insult you. And he was very gracious. And he told me that, well, in 1985, I was a sophomore in high school. And by the way, I had a date all 4 years to the prom. So I absolutely appreciate somebody that can have that sense of humor. The other people I have served with are also 3 city managers. And the first city manager I served with in the old city hall was E.C. Fight. Now, Mr. Fight was a character. And I was young and just started out. And one night somebody broke into my car and stole my tools out of it that I used to work on the traffic lights. So I sheepishly go into Mr. Fite's office the next morning and say, Mr. Fite, somebody stole my tools. And he said, well, get what you need. And then he said, quote, and old boy, why don't you get you a real damn car? It seems that a guy that drove a 30-foot-long four-door town car just could not appreciate my Corvette. So after him comes Roger G. Haley. And we all know what a character Roger is. Well, in any circumstance, in any environment you are in, you have to learn how to survive. And I've told this story to several people before, but I just thought I'd tell everybody. Well, the best word I've ever found to describe Roger is temperamental. You never knew which Roger you were going to get. Well, unfortunately, Roger and I were always the first people at the office, so nobody had had the chance to see him and fill him out, so we did most of our business before 8 o'clock. So I finally figured out a way to deal with that. So I would go to Roger and come up with some nonsense of something I really didn't want at all and didn't need. I was just wanting to see which Roger I got. So I would go in and say something like, Roger, I need to buy some pencils. And Roger said, we don't need any pencils. We got enough pencils in this city. So I would just turn around and walk out. The next day I would come in, Roger, I need some paper clips. Oh, paper clips are good. Everybody needs some of those. Get what you need. So then I know I had the good Roger, and I would say, and by the way, I need $4 million to do this project over here. It worked like a charm for all the years he was here. And now, Roger, when he retired, he calls me up, and I'm in the middle of the day, Dana, what are you doing? Well, I'm working. He said, why don't you come up here and have a cigar with me? I said, Roger, I'm working. He said, well, you don't need to do that right now. Come up here. I said, now, you know darn well you'd have fired me when you were city managers. I was hanging up on the square smoking cigars. Well, you tell Roger I'll see him at noon tomorrow. And then we come to our next city manager, which is Mr. Lyons. Now, Mr. Lyons has been a lot of fun to work with. And we have, I think, finally got him the Yankee-ism out of him as an old Jersey boy. He does a lot better. He'll say y'all now. I've never heard him order a hamburger, french fries, and a pop. That's good. And I think he may even be a closet grid eater. So he's done well. And one of the things that has made Rob do so well here is that his experiences in other towns and other venues before he came here. And in fact, it's even purported that he worked in a place called Tuscan. Well, nobody's been able to verify that because nobody can find it on a map. But it's been a lot of fun with Rob, and finally got to figure out how to deal with Rob as well. And I have figured out that Rob has an incredibly short attention span. In fact, I don't think it exceeds probably about 20 seconds. We were sitting in the conference room the other day having a meeting. Rob is chairing the meeting. He's looking out the window. I'm reporting something and talking. And I noticed that he didn't even know anybody else was in the room. So I just quit talking in mid-sentence. For 10 seconds, there was total silence in the room, and Rob just looking out the window. I think he finally figured out after 10 seconds that there were actually some people in the room trying to conduct business. So when he gets him some help for his attention deficit disorder, I hope they will also address this strange fascination he has with penguins. And maybe they can fix him up at the same time they address the other. But back on a serious note, and I'm not through with you yet, by the way. Back on a serious note, I have greatly appreciated all the people I have worked with, and specifically Ron Chandra, who heads up our traffic section, and Nellie heads up our public transportation section, and Ed's here, our operations manager, all of our staff, the people that do the work on a daily basis. I've made an incredible amount of friendships over the years with the people that I work with, both inside City Hall and outside of City Hall. And it has certainly been a pleasure. It's been a very humbling experience for me. So thank you all. So back to Mr. Lyons. Mr. Lyons has a habit of every Christmas and stuff. That's not mine, is it? Every budget period, excuse me, every budget period, we have to provide a theme for our budget. Sometimes it's a book, sometimes it's a movie. Thank God I'm retiring for he made me come up with a poem.
You know, to the residents out there who are watching this, if you can't have fun with the people you work with, why do it? And one of the reasons that I think services are delivered in such a timely manner and why things are so well here is the people who work here actually enjoy working with one another. As a matter of fact, if we're getting a roast on Mr. Lyons, those of y'all, we're talking about Mr. Haley and Mr. Lyons, and so I come in one Friday, and Rob has his casual day that he has on his Huey Lewis skinny tie, and so I walk in, and I didn't say a word to him, I just looked at him, I shook my head, and we went from a leather vest and a beard to that. So can we get a leather vest? Dana, we're proud for you. We're proud that what you're going to get to do moving forward. And most of all, we're proud for your family. And Dana, I think, hit the nail on the head when he said you guys are his greatest accomplishment. And I think he truly believes that. If you're around him anytime, you know that that's the way he feels with his family. So, and I think if you asked him, each of you are family to him as well. And I don't think he's necessarily going to miss the job, but he's going to miss the people.